Okay, friends, let's start discussing the concept of centripetal acceleration. Now, earlier we have seen for circular motion, you all recall and realize centripetal force is necessary. Now, what is this centripetal force? It's the force which will be directed along the radius towards the center. If this force is not present, that means the circular motion or uniform circular motion, which is abbreviated as UCM, won't be possible. We all know, we have seen the difference between centripetal force and centrifugal force. One is the action, other is the reactive force basically. Both are directed opposite to each other. Centripetal force was a real force, whereas centrifugal force it comes as a pseudo force. Now we did talk about the equation for centripetal force, and that equation was, if you all remember or recall, that was given by mvt square by r. Now when I say mvt square by r, m stands for the mass of the particle which is performing centripetal force, circular motion basically. Then in that case, r stands for the radius of the circular motion, and Vt stands for the tangential velocity with which the particle is moving. So we have derived this. But then if you all realize one thing, force can also be given as mass into acceleration. So mass is represented by m and acceleration will be represented by v square by r. Now this is the acceleration which I am talking about. I call this acceleration as centripetal acceleration, or the other word for it is the radial acceleration. We are supposed to derive this equation v square by r. Now before we move ahead towards that, let's have a quick recall. You can see this centripetal force I'm talking about, the force which is directed along the radius towards the center. Alright, and this equation is given by mvt square by r. So you might have noted it down earlier also. Therefore, I am not waiting for you to note it down. So slowly we will try to build up the concept and then we move ahead towards the derivation. So today's derivation is a very crucial part of understanding circular motion. So again I say force can also be interpreted as mass, which is represented by m, and multiplied by acceleration as per Newton's second law. So that acceleration here in this case is Vt square by r. This acceleration I'm saying is centripetal acceleration, and we are about to derive this equation. So let's proceed then further. You all are okay with it? Just give me a feedback, okay? That you have, I want your acknowledgement that you are okay with this concept of centripetal force, and we are proceeding towards the derivation for centripetal acceleration, friends. Just give me the nod in form of a feedback basically so that we move ahead. Yeah. So most of you say you are able to recollect what the things are. Yeah, got it from everybody. So now we proceed towards the derivation. But before we proceed towards the derivation, again let's recall few basic things. Okay. Yeah, obviously it's a real force. Centripetal and centrifugal, they are action and reaction forces basically. We have seen all this. Before we derive certain things, let's have a quick look at certain derivations, definitions basically. Angular velocity, it is denoted by the notation omega. Here is a particle which is performing circular motion, obviously in a clockwise sense in this case. I want the direction of velocity. Here I'll draw a tangent which gives me the direction. After time interval t equal to something equal to say t, the particle takes a new position over here, and you can see if I want the direction of the velocity over here, I'll draw a tangent. That means the velocity is changing its direction. So the angular displacement also changes, you can see. So we define angular velocity as rate of change of angular displacement, which can also be represented as d theta by dt. We all know how the direction is given by right hand rule. The unit for angular velocity would be radian per second, friends. So please make a note of this slide because this gives you the definition. Time and again, we would be needing this equation and the notation for angular velocity. the concept for it, obviously. Once you are done with this, let me know so that we proceed towards the next definition. Okay, most of you say done. Earlier also we have discussed this definitions, but I'm just trying to recall it for you people before we move towards the crucial derivation over here. Yeah. So let's proceed further. Second, how do we define angular displacement? So angle described by the position vector or traversed by position vector with respect to a reference point, and unit is radian. You can see from the diagram. Please make a note of this also quickly. Yeah, friends. So most of you say done. Let's proceed further. Then the definition which we did talk about earlier was, yeah, this was angular velocity, which is done. Angular acceleration given by the notation alpha. So you define angular acceleration as rate of change of angular velocity. So alpha is then given as d omega by dt, where d omega stands for change in velocity and dt stands for change in the time, that is the rate, basically. Okay. How it is represented in other way, we will be talking about this when we understand calculus in better way. You can represent alpha in this manner also, but let's not discuss this at this moment. So d omega by dt is the right notation, and unit for it would be radian per second square. Obviously, the direction of all the three. When I say all the three, that means angular velocity, angular acceleration, angular displacement. All are given by right hand rule. So you can just imagine your right hand, fingers of the right hand to be curled and thumb outstretched. The curled fingers, they are giving you the direction of circular motion. The outstretched thumb will give you the direction of angular velocity, angular acceleration, and angular displacement. So this is for anti-clockwise circular motion. Had it been clockwise, obviously this thumb would have been inwards, perpendicular to the plane of the paper, you can see. Please make a note of it, and once you are done with it, let me know so that we proceed further. Okay, so most of you say done. Let's proceed further then, friends. So here you can see we have the definition for angular acceleration with us. So now we know the basic definitions and equations for angular velocity, angular acceleration, angular displacement. And we also know how the directions of these three parameters, that is alpha, omega, and theta, which means angular acceleration, angular velocity, and angular displacement. It's given by right hand thumb rule as shown here in this slide. Okay, so let's proceed further then. Concentrate on what I say first of all directly, just don't look at the slide because it will be confusing for you then. Right. So what we are supposed to do is initially we will try to understand the diagram. You can see this is the reference line. The particle is at position somewhere here. Right. Now when I'm talking about this position, this is the initial position of the particle. This is the initial position of the particle. Obviously, center coordinates can be 0, 0 in this case. After time interval t, you can see the particle takes a new position so that at the center, angle subtended is delta theta. Delta theta means small angle, delta theta. Over there. This delta theta can also be represented as d theta. Obviously, the linear displacement for the arc can be responded as ds over here, and obviously r is the radius vector. So this is the situation which is taking place. So here you can see the position vector is rotated by angle del theta in del time del t. So del theta is angular distance or angular displacement, you can say. Angular speed is omega, and you know how you define average angular speed, del theta by del omega. Or you can also put it in form of instantaneous angular speed given by omega as d theta by dt. Again I said. But the question is how you represent d theta, ds and r. Okay, there is a geometrical relationship between angle, linear displacement or the length of the arc and radius. So we are going to use that, okay, in the initial stages. So let's say ds, can I say ds is equal to r d theta? So time and again I would be using this relationship. ds will be equal to r multiplied by d theta. So we have studied it in geometry. You might have studied it while studying circle, basically, okay? So that's the relation between angle, arc length and the radius. So by basic definition, linear velocity is ds by dt, that is rate of change of linear displacement or change in linear displacement per unit time. But now this ds, you can put it as r d theta, you can see. So instead of ds, I'm putting it as, instead of s, I'm putting it as of r d theta. So r comes out, and what remains in the operator sign, that is d theta by dt. So what is d theta by dt? We have seen it's instantaneous angular velocity. So instead of d theta by dt, I will put it as omega. So here we get a relationship v equal to r omega, where v stands for linear velocity, friends. R stands for radius vector and omega stands for angular velocity. This is the notation in form of a scalar notation basically. In form of a vector notation, you can always put it as a cross product. So V bar can be always the cross product of omega bar cross R bar in this case. So hopefully the first derivation is clear to you, where we have actually established the relationship between, you can see, linear velocity and angular velocity with the help of radius. So here onwards, this relationship will be true for all our analysis further. You may get this type of question for 2 marks in exam, in your college exams. But this relationship has to be used time and again for all the type of problems, including boards as well as entrances. Please make a note of this, and once you are done with it, let me know so that we move right towards the crucial derivation then there onwards.
Sir,
So
can you
whenever you practice derivation, see to it that you write it down 5 to 10 times, then only you can rederive it in exams. You miss one word here and there, it may change the entire meaning. So this is how a derivation has to be derived. The first thing comes is the diagram, then explanation of that diagram, and then the basic things leading to the derivation. So always follow this sequence to yield maximum marks in exams. Hopefully things are pretty clear till here.
sir, can you tell in which form they will ask in entrance exam?
Which form in what sense? Like vector form or scalar form you mean to say?
No, sir. This centripetal acceleration, this derivation.
No, no, we have not started with centripetal acceleration ka derivation as of now. This is a derivation prior to that. This derivation just gives you the relationship between linear velocity v and angular velocity omega with respect to the radius vector. This is
Okay.
just the relationship between linear velocity, radius vector and angular velocity. We have yet not derived the equation for centripetal acceleration. Next time, next slide, we have to do that. I want to know from your side, are you okay till here? V is equal to R omega. Did you realize or understand how you got this relationship? Because this is a crucial relationship, I'm telling you.
Sir, can you explain again? Because I am disconnected.
Concentrate here now. Okay, I'm repeating it once again for everybody. Initially, let's talk about the diagram first. Okay, so particle is at this position. The central reference is 0, 0. After time interval t, the particle takes a new position. Obviously, the displacement at the center is del theta. Now, if it is that del theta is angular displacement and taking place in time del t, average angular speed will be given as del theta by del t. But instantaneous, if you want, at a given instant, it will be d theta by dt. Just take this piece outside and magnify it. So d theta, ds and r, there is a relationship between it. And what is that according to the geometry? ds equal to r d theta. So we want to use it. Now we know linear velocity is rate of change of linear displacement, that is ds by dt. But ds is r d theta over here. So just put r d theta. So r comes out d theta by dt. We all know it's angular velocity. So that means instead of d theta by dt, I can substitute it as omega. So we get the relationship as v is equal to r omega. This is how we derive it. In vector notation, same thing can be expressed in form of a cross product. V bar equal to omega bar cross r bar. You cannot change the order, it's not commutative because it can be represented in cross product in vector form. So this is how we derive the relation between the linear velocity, angular velocity and radius vector. Hopefully now it's clear. Please put it in your feedback section so that I move ahead towards the next and crucial derivation. Please put it in the feedback section if you are all okay with it. Then we proceed further. And now when I deal with the derivation for centripetal acceleration, I want the concentration levels to be very high. You have to be a very good listener. Then only, it won't be tricky for you. So hopefully you all acknowledge that and then we move ahead towards the derivation for centripetal acceleration. Chalo. Now hopefully you concentrate high here and I'm moving towards that derivation. Okay. So let's start deriving it then with all the basics which we know. Just try to follow what I am saying. Okay. First we will talk about the diagram. Forget about what's there in the equations. Let's talk about the diagram first of all. Okay. I'm going very slow so that you understand it to perfection, friends. I want you people to concentrate high now. Okay. Let's talk about this circle. R is the radius vector, right? So for position P, the radius vector is R. After time interval T, the new position is Q. So the new position vector will be R dash. Magnitude wise, they would be same, but direction wise, they are not same. You can see at this position, this was the direction. At this position, the direction has changed. Therefore, R dash as the position vector. Now, in this process, from moving from P to Q, you can see the angle subtended at the center is del theta. So that means R has changed to R dash. So obviously the third side of the triangle is giving you the resultant over here. That is the difference between the two, R and R dash. So the difference between the two is delta R dash. Alright, so the third side is giving you. Now you can check out things over here. Okay, so let's say if this angle is theta, friends. Obviously this angle has to be theta as per the geometry. If this is del theta, then obviously del theta plus theta, interior angles of the triangle would be equal to 180. From this, you can just expect 2 theta to be equal to 180 minus del theta. So theta in this case would be 180 minus del theta by 2. This is how you can just work out a slight geometry over here. You can. But moreover, what I want to tell you is a very different thing. We are going to draw a vector diagram now. So try and understand how we draw the vector diagram. See, I have a triangle QOP which is being completely established In the diagram you can see OP of the triangle represents R, OQ represents R dash, the new position vector. And obviously the difference between the two is being represented by PQ, that is delta R. Alright. Now, if I want the velocity at P, what I will do, I will draw a tangent at P. I've drawn it. This is the direction of V bar at P. But when the position changes to Q, the direction would be given by the tangent drawn at that point, that is point Q. So at Q, I will draw the tangent. So the new velocity is V dash over here because the direction has changed. Magnitude may remain same. The direction has changed. So V dash bar. So now I will be drawing one more triangle, vector triangle, which will be representing V bar and V dash and the change in velocity. So for that, what I do, I select this vector V bar. You can see, and I take point A over here. At point A, I started from point A. Any general point A I've taken outside. From A, I want to represent V bar. What I will do? I will take this arrow as it is, and I will place it over here. See, I have not changed the direction. This is V bar. You can see. Similarly, from A, if I want the other vector of V dash to be represented, I will take that arrow as it is without changing the direction and I will connect it to A, you can see. So V dash is connected in that manner. Directly I have taken it and I have connected it over here. I have not changed the direction. So now I have a triangle where AB represents V bar and AC represents V dash bar. Because V dash is connected to R dash and because V is connected to R and they are rotated, say for example, if R is rotated through del theta, so obviously V will also be rotated through del theta. Okay, because they are the connected arms, right? Yeah. So therefore, the angle between V bar and V dash bar is also del theta. Now, if that is the case, then the third side, just like over here, it was representing the change in the radius vector del R. So this here it will be representing del velocity, delta V, which is nothing but V dash minus V. Just like here it was R dash minus R. So you have established one more triangle over here. You can see a vector triangle for velocity and which is exactly with respect to the radius vector over here. So now from geometry, if this angle and this angle is theta, these two angles also would be theta. Right? These two angles are also theta. Now I have two triangles. Okay, are you able to locate this triangle? Just tell me in the feedback section. Okay, I'm talking about the triangles. So QOP, which is referring to the radius vector and its change, and CAB, which is referring to the velocity vector and its change. Are you able to locate these two triangles? Please put it in the feedback section so that I start discussing the theory behind it. Yeah, friends. Okay, so most of you say yes. So you have located those two triangles, right? Most of you say yes. Now, what I'm going to do with these two triangles, okay, try and understand. Very important step. I will, these two triangles are similar. You can see. So I would place the fact of similarity over here. So OPQ and ABC are similar. If they are similar, then based on the similarity case, I can put delta V by V. Just observe this, okay? Delta V by V. Can it be equated to delta R by R? Yes, obviously, because of the similarity. So delta V by V will be equal to delta R by R. Shuffle it in terms of delta V, friends. So you will take V over here, you can see. So delta V in that case becomes V delta R by R. Everybody agrees with this, I believe, right? Just by similarity, I've shuffled it in form of delta V. Now we know If I just divide it by delta t on both the sides, so this is your left hand side and this is your right hand side. The left hand side divided by delta t will give you this delta v by delta t, and the right hand side will give you v delta r upon r delta t over. Okay. But delta v by delta t, what is it? Change in velocity per unit time. That is nothing but acceleration. So delta v by delta t can be represented as a acceleration. Which acceleration? Obviously the centripetal acceleration, which is directed towards the center. Then v by r as it is, but what is delta r by delta t? Isn't it velocity in that case? Change in, you know, delta r can be represented in terms of, change basically. So, but in terms of linear velocity. So delta r by delta t is like delta s by delta t. That is v again. So this v and this v which is present makes it v square by r. So I got the equation for centripetal acceleration as v square by r. So this is the derivation of equation for centripetal acceleration. Now symbolically, if you feel, you can put a negative sign over here. Why? Negative sign will indicate that the acceleration is directed along the radius towards the center. Because it is directed along the radius, centripetal acceleration can also be considered as radial acceleration. So very, very important. See, these are the skeletal steps. You need to explain while you mention all this, and then you get 3 on 3. So you may get a 3 marks question in this derivation. And this is how we have derived the centripetal acceleration equal to v square by r. Please make a note of it. Very, very crucial slide. Hopefully you have understood this. Please put it in the feedback section so that I come to know and I start further analyzing this equation. One more important thing, friends. Yeah, I got the feedback from you people, most of you. One more thing. Now, if you want to rederive it in exams, obviously you cannot read and rederive. You need to practice it 5 to 10 times on rough papers or slate. Then only you can reproduce it in exams. Okay. So this is how we derive the equation for centripetal acceleration, friends. So now the different formats or different types of analysis we would go ahead with. Just give me a moment. I'll take you to an important slide. Yeah. So here again I talk about it. Magnitude of acceleration we wanted. So I told you how from this triangle we yielded this triangle. Isn't it? This is something which we have worked on. And obviously the acceleration you can see will be directed, towards the center along the radius. Therefore, the acceleration which we have derived, we called it as centripetal acceleration. So you can have a look at it. Again, the same two triangles they're talking about. So here you can see the centripetal acceleration directed along the radius towards the center. And finally, we get that equation equal to, you can see v square by r. This is something which we have derived. Okay. Now let's talk in terms of distance. Distance moved by body in one revolution. So from one point, if it starts moving along the circumference, again comes back to the same point. So what would be the distance? Distance would be 2 pi. Displacement would be 0. Distance is 2 pi. So the speed or the magnitude of velocity in that case is 2 pi r by t. For 1 by t, 1 by t is the reciprocal of time period and it is given by the frequency. So velocity can then be given as 2 pi r by t or 2 pi r f, where f stands for frequency. So this is the equation for velocity in terms of frequency and time period t. So omega in this case, see, we had the equation v is equal to r omega. So we have v, we have r. If we compare, what is omega being represented? Just you put v below v, r below r, and what remains is 2 pi f. So this 2 pi f is nothing but omega. So angular velocity can also be given equal to 2 pi f. This is how you interpret it. So here onwards, the equation for angular velocity will be 2 pi f, and 2 pi f, where f stands for frequency, friends. Okay. So this is how you are supposed to interpret the equations. Okay. Fine. Now, when I say omega is 2 pi f, so instead of v, I can put it as 2 pi f into r in this case. So centripetal acceleration, you can see, instead of v, can I put it as r omega? V is r omega, right? This is what we have derived. Put it as r omega, so you will get the same equation, then gets converted as equal to omega square r. So this equation was in terms of linear velocity. This equation is in terms of angular velocity. And how we convert it? With the help of the relation between linear velocity, angular velocity, and the radius vector. What was the equation? V is equal to r omega. This is something which we have derived. So omega, you can also put this as 2 pi f. When you put it as 2 pi f square, ultimately the centripetal acceleration in terms of frequency and radius can be established. So this is the further analysis of the equation for centripetal acceleration. Please make a note of it. And once you are done with it, let me know.